Before the 18th century, the world moved slowly. Farmers tilled soil with hand tools, weavers sat for hours at looms, and blacksmiths hammered iron by hand. But suddenly, almost like a lightning strike, machines changed everything. The world shifted from hand to steam, from muscle to metal. This was the Industrial Revolution. And nothing would ever be the same again. To understand how radical this transformation was, we need to look back. For thousands of years, most people lived in rural areas, growing their own food. Life was predictable, slow, and labor-intensive. Textiles were made in cottages, hence the term cottage industry. One person, one tool, one product at a time. The economy was small-scale, local, and deeply connected to nature's rhythms. But underneath the soil of Great Britain lay something waiting to explode: coal. And alongside it, a new way of thinking, innovation driven by profit, science, and empire. So why did the Industrial Revolution begin in Britain? 3 reasons: resources, empire, and ideas. Britain had vast coal and iron reserves, a growing population, and a powerful navy guarding a global empire. Trade routes brought raw materials from India, Africa, and the Americas. Wealth flowed into London, fueling investments in experiments and inventions. But more than anything, it was the mindset. A culture of tinkering, entrepreneurship, and risk-taking flourished. Men like James Watt, Richard Arkwright, and George Stephenson weren't just inventors, they were disruptors. The spinning jenny, the power loom, the steam engine, these weren't just machines. They were revolutions in metal. In 1764, James Hargreaves' spinning jenny let a single worker spin multiple spools of thread at once. Then came Arkwright's water frame, and eventually the steam-powered loom. Productivity soared. Factories sprouted across Britain like steel mushrooms. But it was the steam engine, refined by James Watt, that truly set everything ablaze. Steam-powered locomotives, steamships, and giant factory machines. No longer were industries tied to rivers for water power. Now, coal and steam ruled. The age of muscle gave way to the age of machines. Imagine traveling 15 miles per hour in a world where walking was the norm. That was the revolution of the railway. The Stockton and Darlington Railway opened in 1825, the first public railway to use steam locomotives. Then came George Stephenson's famous rocket engine, blazing through the English countryside. By the 1840s, railways connected cities, mines, ports, and people like never before. Goods that once took weeks to deliver now arrived in days. Markets expanded, cities grew, and time itself seemed to speed up. But with every revolution comes a price. Cities like Manchester, Birmingham, and Glasgow exploded in size. Chimneys belched black smoke. Streets overflowed with people. Tenement housing rose, packed and unsanitary. Children as young as 6 worked in coal mines or textile mills. Workdays stretched to 14 hours. Injuries were common. Life expectancy in industrial cities plummeted. Writers like Charles Dickens painted grim portraits of this world, where soot covered everything and the poor were crushed by the gears of progress. Yet, amid the suffering, hope stirred. Workers began organizing. Laws started to change. And slowly, the idea of workers' rights took hold. The Industrial Revolution didn't stop at Britain's shores. It jumped to Europe, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, and then leapt across the Atlantic to America. By the late 19th century, the United States became an industrial giant. Steel titans like Andrew Carnegie, and oil barons like Rockefeller built vast empires. Cities like New York, Chicago, and Detroit roared to life with smoke and steel. Japan, after the Meiji Restoration, industrialized rapidly to avoid colonization. Meanwhile, colonies were drained of raw materials to feed machines in Europe's factories. The Industrial Revolution wasn't just about factories. It reshaped everyday life. The telegraph brought instant communication across continents. Gas lighting illuminated streets. Canned food, mass-produced clothes, and indoor plumbing changed how people lived. Middle classes emerged, with time for leisure, reading, and new political ideas. Democracy and capitalism, shaped by industrial needs, became the dominant forces of the modern world. We live in the shadow of the Industrial Revolution. Its fingerprints are everywhere, from the phones in our pockets to the factories that make our clothes. It birthed capitalism, cities, pollution, and progress. It gave us both the skyscraper and the slum. Today, as we face automation, climate change, and artificial intelligence, we are entering a new kind of revolution, digital and global. But the lessons of the first industrial revolution remain clear. Technology alone is not enough. Without justice, without compassion, machines can enslave as easily as they liberate. And so, as we look to the future, we must ask, will the next revolution lift us all, or leave many behind once again? This was the story of how machines took over, and the world was never the same again.